Everybody, and welcome to the updated AlayaCare training. The first thing you're going to see when you download the app and open it is going to be, well, first it's going to be permissions for can the app use your GPS. You definitely want to say yes to that. That is part of the law that we are required to have our clock in and clock outs, excuse me, geotagged. So you do need to enable the GPS for this. The next thing you're going to see is the company server name. Now that is up right on the screen. It's Star Pediatrics with an S .alayacare.com. This is essentially, you're going to write it in essentially like it is like a website. And if you wanted to access this through a web browser, you can using the same address as the website. Okay, so when you have your server name in, make sure it's spelled right. You're going to hit next. And if it is spelled right and everything's good, it will show you the username and password screen. Your username is going to be the email address that you gave us when we hired you, and the password should be your date of birth. Okay, it's going to be the year first. So my year is 1987, and then the month in 2 digits. Mine's July 07. And then the day in 2 digits as well, 03. All right, when you're done that, click log on or log in. All right, so when you first get to your screen, it's going to show today's date. Now, as you can see, mine just changed from no items to this blue rectangle here. Now, if you need to change the date for any reason, you're going to swipe left and right, just like you're going through your pictures. If you want to go forward, go from the right side of your screen to the left. For backward, left side of the screen to the right. So when you are on today's date, you should see the shift that you are scheduled for. You're going to tap inside of this rectangle here. Once you tap inside the rectangle, this is basically opening your patient's file. You can see how many visits you've been to that patient, what the patient's address is. Up here with the blue icon, you can tap on that and it will put the patient's address into your GPS app on your phone, just to help you get there if you need to. This green phone icon will allow you to use your cell phone to call the patient's home or contact information. All right, and then right here, this green clock is your clock in. So when you first get to your shift, you are going to hit that green clock and then answer your COVID questions. If at any point after you answer your COVID questions, there are other pop-ups like that you are not in close proximity to the patient or that this is not today's shift, please just be mindful of those and keep an eye out. Those are little safeguards to make sure that you don't clock in on the wrong shift day, or even, excuse me, to make sure you're at the correct patient as well. All right, so now that I'm clocked in, I noticed that my patient's name, Star Office Mount Laurel, has turned green, this light green. This will always mean that you are clocked into a shift if you see that light green in there. Okay, now that you are clocked in, now we can go over to, there's a few things, but I'm just going to give you the basics. We're going to go to service tasks and tap on that. What service tasks does is any forms that are preloaded onto your shift are going to be seen here. Anything that you need to do for your shift is going to be seen here. There may be interventions down here that you have to check off. But for your 8 to 12 hour assessment, you're going to tap inside. Now mine is a square. iPhone users, you'll have a little circle there. So you're going to tap in there and that's going to open up your 8 to 12 hour assessment. The first thing that you see is your initial equipment check. Make sure that you do your COVID-19 screening of the client's household and check off those emergency equipment. All right. Now, whatever equipment your patient has, you're going to know this better than I do. Let's say these two, and then just answer all of the necessary questions. Now here, a few people are getting caught up. If you see a box in red or with a star next to it, you do have to fill that out or else your note will not be able to get submitted. All right, so just be careful with those. And if you see a red box or a star next to something, make sure it gets filled out or you will not be able to submit. Now, if I'm picking the wrong things, I'm sorry. I do not have the clinical knowledge. All right, so once your initial check is done, you're going to go into your first hourly assessment, which is sort of included in that initial. A lot of check boxes here, a lot of very typical answers. So just go through that and choose all the applicable answers. There are a few things. I believe we want to go down here. Yes. All right, so for temperature, your patient's temperature when you take it, you do want to choose, oh, I'm sorry, that's Celsius. I thought I chose that. All right, choose Celsius versus Fahrenheit, and then also the root. A lot of people are doing temporal. We do not have an option for temporal at this time, but if you look under here, please select tympanic and describe in the comments if we do not have one of your options. Okay, so you'll just write that in the options. And now down here for heart rate, let's do, sure, beats per minute is the only one. Now position, this one is required. A lot of people have been missing this one, so just be careful there. All right, respiratory rate, same thing, beats per minute or breaths per minute. Now, here we go. Nursing interventions performed. Now, this is going to be where you get all your fun stuff. Repositioning, of course. You've got your neb, your suction, chest PT. There's a lot of different things that you can check off here as you go. Let's see what happens with each one. Okay, so now I have a blood pressure box. Now I have, please specify any. Oh, okay, so this box is here because I chose other, and you do have to write that down, what the unspecified treatment that you did was. All right, suction, how many times did you suck? How much did you get out? What kind? Let's get really graphic here. Seizure activities, type and time, intake and output, and then your narrative. Please, please, please make sure that you get something in for your narrative for each hour. Even if you leave some of these blank on each of your hourlies, you do want to make sure that you have at least a narrative, you know, giving a summary of that hour. Now, typically, once you are done with your initial, you are going to want to go out and save. For my Android users, it's pretty easy. We have this top left corner, the arrow here. Leave form. Do you want to discard or save for later? You always want to say save for later. Now, for my Apple people, you do have to hit the back button until you get the cancel up here in this top left corner, and it's very counterintuitive to what I would want to do, but you do hit that cancel and it will pop up the same question for you. Do you want to discard or save for later? And again, we always want to choose save. Something about this app that is a little bit frustrating for some people is the password and HIPAA protection. So what happens with this app is if you are inactive on the app for more than 5 minutes, and that includes being in your 8 to 12. If you're in your 8 to 12 for more than 5 minutes, you do have to put your password back in to prove that it's you, so that this app can be HIPAA compliant. So if you do come across something funny, it says, you know, invalid URL or form not submitted yet or anything like that, what you can do is you can just back out of your shift and see how it's green. Remember, that means we were clocked in. We can tap back into it, and if it needs our password, it's going to ask at that point. Okay, now I'm going back over to service tasks. I'm pretending an hour has passed. I've put my password back in to access the app again, and then to access my last save, again, I just tap on this blank box or circle. All right, it does say we have a draft. We want to resume. Do not touch that start new or your note will be gone. All right, hit resume, and it's going to take you back to your initial. All right, so you'll see everything that you've already done here. And then here's your first hourly. That'll already be done as well. now you'll just go to your second hourly and continue on. So these are fun. For Android, we have the clock option that you can mess around with. For Apple, I believe it's the scroll bar. For Android, you also have this option down here, the little keyboard. You can type it in as well. So that's another option for you. Mucous membranes, breath sounds, this is the stuff you guys all know. And then just don't forget, if you do anything, it's under that nursing interventions and vitals. All right, so you're gonna tap in there and make sure that you note anything that you did for that shift. Make sure that you also put in a narrative and just keep on, moving on. Every time, I would recommend every time you put in an hourly that you back out and save. It's the best way to ensure that you do not lose any documentation. So again, for my Apple people, there will be a back button in the top left corner that you'll continue to hit until you see cancel. And once you see cancel, it should look like this. Okay, you're about to leave the form. Would you like to discard or save? All right, same for my Android people. You'll have the arrow in the back. You'll just have to tap it once. Okay. One of the biggest issues that we come across is when a note is not submitted, and when nurses first start using the app, it is tough for them to finish up. So I'm just going to skip through. We've done our first 2 hourlies, and I trust that you guys absolutely know how to document this. This is what you've been doing. This isn't the tech problem. So I'm going to keep going and hitting next. Now, each of these assessments that we pull up has 12 hours preloaded onto it. So right now I'm on hour 5. I'm just going to keep hitting next until I get to hour 12. And then once I'm at hour 12, after I hit next one more time, I'm going to get to goals. Now, if you do work more than 12 hours, please give a call to your office and ask them how they would like for you to proceed with that. But for the most part, anybody working from 8 to 12, this will be fairly standard. Okay, so now you have your goals and teachings. Choose the goals from your 485. You do not have to check off every single goal, just what's appropriate. And then, was there any caregiver teaching required? Okay, now for school, if 2020 is fun, so if your student or if your patient is going to school in person, then you will select yes. If your patient is going to school virtually or remotely and you did not get any information about this, select no. There are some students that are going virtually that you would select yes, but those nurses have been contacted individually. All right, so for yes, remember, how did you get to and from school? Please be as accurate as possible here. And note that, yes, this does have a star with it. So if you say yes to this question, you have to answer this question. All right, so I'm going to say no. And everything on this page does have to be filled out in order to submit your note. All right, so as usual, the calendar pops up. You really shouldn't have to edit that too much. Your time in. Okay, you might need to edit. Date at end of shift, I'm sorry, you shouldn't have to edit that too much or at all. Time out, and then total hours. Okay, it does not automatically calculate that, so please try to be accurate with this as well. Nurse's name and title, you're just going to type it out, and then signature. Again, my favorite part. Okay, when you're done, you hit the check mark. If you would like to delete it, all you have to do is hit the little trash can. All right, client caregiver signature. Okay, same thing for them. Just have them sign, and then you can choose the relationship to the client. So in most cases, mom, dad, grandparent, but if you do have an other, or if you are releasing care to another nurse, you're going to choose other and write that in. Okay? That is how you submit. Now, if you took more than 5 minutes within your 8 to 12, when you hit that submit button, you have to watch at the bottom of your screen, form upload added to queue. That means we're in line to upload. And form upload has now been completed. All right, so this tells me that I have completed my upload. Now, if it said something different down there, I would back out of my shift. it would probably ask me to put my password in, and then I would just go right back in and check under that service tasks and see if submitted on November 2nd, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you should see the day's date and time here when you submit. And then one more way to check is you can go over to form history. This form history takes the place of those binders with the yellow notes. So any note, anything that has been put in from any staff member with this patient will be seen here. Okay, it's not your form history, it's the patient's form history. All right, so right up here, I see my assessment, November 2nd, 3:55. I know that my assessment is in for the office to approve. Okay, that is all you have to do except clock out. Now up here in the top right corner, you'll see this little clock, and that is a shortcut. You can tap that to clock in or clock out, but I'm gonna do it the long way. I'm gonna head back over to info. I like to see the clocks change. Now, because I see the red clock, I know I am clocked in. Once I tap on the red clock, it's going to clock me out. And that green clock is going to pop back up because now I have the option to clock in because I am not clocked into any shifts. Okay, and then now up here, I notice my my patient's name has turned that dark blue. That means I'm no longer clocked into this shift and everything is finished. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you need help with anything, if you are struggling, if you need some extra assistance, if you aren't sure how to do something, please, please, please give me an email. My email is jmcginley, MCGINLEY, @starpediatrics.com. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I hope this helped. Have a good day. Bye-bye.